there. She must have been about 90 at the front door. And she was going, "Show me your sausage." And I was like, "I beg your pardon." She was like, "Show me your sausage." And I said, "Hang on a minute, can you go and do one? Because if you don't, I'm going to go and call the police." And she goes, "Well, if you call the police, I'll tell them you're my boyfriend." And I just ran indoors and
so
terrified. But that link.
How are you two getting on now?
Oh, she's dead, luckily.
Oh God!
But I'd be too.
Is that because you actually showed her your sausage and she died of shock?
No, she said I didn't want to see a chipolata. but that woman was terrifying. She'd be walking down the road on two crutches, or crutches as she'd prefer, and then as soon as she saw a male, she'd be running like bloody Flojo.
What, trying to catch the male up?
Yeah, unbelievable. Sexual predator. But that just sort of reminded me of Winksy in the care home, and you saying that he looked a bit scared after the woman said, "Oh, you're cute." And
was that a repressed memory, mate?
Yeah.
Sorry. We apologise. Any more counselling we need to do for you before we move on?
I've got a few notes. So something you may say something that triggers something bad that happened in my past, but we'll see how it goes anyway. And we're all friends anyway.
Okay.
I
do. We do charge. We do charge though. We do charge. We do charge for counselling.
That's fine.
So if you want to wrap it up now, let us know. But so obviously, so Winksy obviously, turns out Jose rates him. He's a top boy.
Yeah.
I've always rated him, so not bad. My son met him in. He's actually not that. I thought he was short, but then you kind of expect him, obviously as a professional player, to be tall or whatever. But my son met him in Selfridges like a couple of years ago. Just happened to be in there with my son.
I think I've seen the photo. I think you posted it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Does he look like he's about 6 foot tall compared to you?
Well, I wasn't there. My son was there.
Oh.
My son met him. It wasn't a trick. This wasn't a trick statement. Just my son met him. We got a picture with him and whatever. But anyway, moving on. So Winksy's the top boy. So we also then had the that incident. Was it in the same game or was it after the Chelsea game? What game was it where Dele and
Dyer after the Wolves game?
Yeah, the Wolves game.
That Winksy was captain for, in fact.
Yes, yeah. Which was. I'm not sure. I don't know if I was at. I don't think I was at that game because I don't even remember the fact that Winksy was captain.
I was at that game, but
I never remember much about the game. But I remember it was an appalling game. It was absolutely diabolical, wasn't it?
It was end to end, that game. It was end to end. Yeah,
because
Wolves are a bit like that, aren't they? But we did well to start in that game, but threw it away. So
But yeah. I just found it quite amusing with Dele kicking off with a petulant little rant about chucking bottles on the floor and that. And then
to be honest, though, I just didn't think it was really much at all. I just thought he was pissed off, and
But the thing is, though, he must have a history of that and just calling the team out, but doesn't actually have the balls to turn around and say, which is what Jose wants to say. You made that mistake on the edge of the box there.
Yeah,
you did that wrong.
And I think that's what we need to do more of. Yeah, definitely.
But do we? I mean, I kind of get it, but I sort of, I don't know. I mean, from Dele's perspective, he's saying as a team we were shit. And was he wrong? As a team, we were shit. People weren't doing their jobs. Like if you bring it back to like the Leipzig game or the game that the game that Mourinho was analysing and saying that the midfield weren't doing their job. So the midfield was shit because they weren't dropping back and doing the covering and the recovery they should do. The defence was shit because they weren't getting the midfield to do that. So Dele's right. As a team. Like we were shit. The defensive unit was shit. The midfield was shit. So does it I kind of saw his side of like the argument as well. That why do I need to pull out or call out? Dyer, you were fucking shit today. Yeah, I mean why? Like why do I need to call it out? It's Like, you know, the defense, unless Dyer out of everyone had an absolute fucking stinker. Yeah, I mean, if the team as a unit was shit, then, like, you know, Delhi, like, I think Delhi's right to kind of say we were all shit, really, you know, and be upset with it. So,
I think also you know whether you've had a bad game yourself, so why not admit it and just talk about why you think you had a bad game? So I think that's even more constructive.
But Jose talks about responsibility, doesn't he? And,
exactly.
You know, the players do need to step up and be accountable and for their own actions and be grown up enough to turn around and say, look, I made a major fuck up. I'll try not to let it happen again. And, you know, that's how things evolve and how we keep going on about, you know, the mentality of the team will change as a result of that. And players develop stronger, thicker skins. Yeah, it's just part of the process of developing that winning mentality, isn't it?
It is, yeah, I think so. They just need to be more open and stop being, as he says, so nice, because it doesn't get people anywhere.
But surely, I mean, players like Toby, Jan, and like you know, I don't know if Bergwijn, for example, and some of these other players have won trophies and stuff at other clubs. So you know, how did they achieve that at the other clubs? You know, and can't transmit that over here, or can't bring that across to this team. You know, that's what I don't get.
Well, maybe it's because they are going along with, as you say, the collective, and it's working that way. They don't know how it's working, but they go along with it, and it does work out that way because it's a bit more positive.
But the thing is, though, if you look at Bergwijn, you know, he's obviously come from PSV, and I mean, the Dutch league isn't exactly that competitive. It's not as high profile. It's not as pressurised as the Premier League, where
it's a bit slower, a bit more technical.
You know,
maybe
you can get results upsetting teams week in, week out, and you know, you can get top of the table, go to bottom of the league, and get turned over. But you know, I mean, how many teams from the Dutch league can you name on two hands? And I always look at leagues like the Dutch league, the French league, and you see a team and you think, I've never heard of that one before. So there must be a different intensity and pressure in the Premier League that must mean the mentally strong in weaker leagues can't carry that mentality through to a league like the Premier League.
Yeah, and also with the Premier League, you've got an investment in different varieties of play. So it's a bit like Vorm was saying, and I can't remember which episode it was exactly, where he was saying in Holland everybody plays football, whereas I think it's in episode 8, isn't it? No, it's in episode 7, in fact, when he's picked a play and people say to Vorm, you know, are there teams like Burnley? And he said, well, no, there aren't in Holland. Everybody plays football, whereas in the Premier League, you have this massive variation of play.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess because you know, I guess it, like in the Premier League, that there's this big, you know, emphasis on trying to get to the Premier League and survive in the Premier League. So
exactly.
You know, because it's such a big chasm, you know, from the Premier League down, then there's, you know, people will adapt their tactics to, you know, to ensure that they give themselves the best opportunity to stay, I guess, in that league.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I think from a cultural perspective, we've always looked at like trying to win first rather than, you know, think about the football, which is why, you know, in the lower divisions, it's not so much about how we play. It's just about how quickly can we get the ball in the net, because that's all we need to do. Because that's if we don't get the quicker we get the ball in the net, the quicker we're going to score.
Exactly.
So we'll just get forward.
But
get it forward.
Yeah. That also links into the team talk that Mourinho gave prior to the Middlesbrough game, where he said they're going to come at you, they're going to go bam, they're going to be strong, they're going to be fast, because it's a one-off game.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing in an amazing stadium. It's the FA Cup. Bang, they're going to come at you. So, you know, one-off games, you can end up with any result at the end of the day. So
that's right. That's exactly how the FA Cup has always been, isn't it? It's I agree.
So, you know, this series, 'cause for me, this series has certainly changed my perception of Mourinho, or how I feel about him. like coaching our club, because it feels like a lot of the stuff that he said is correct, and I don't know if that's just because he knows the camera's there or if that's genuine stuff. But even when he talks about us as like our mentality and just being too nice and stuff like that, he talked about the tactical fouls that other clubs do, and they show like Wolves not giving us an opportunity to run with the ball, move or anything, and we, like, when we have the opportunity to do the same thing, we just don't execute that. When we should take a player down, we don't take a player down. We fail. You see, there's actually there are attempts where we're in the stand and we're going, fucking take him out, and they just, our players seem to just kind of bounce off of the opposition players because we just are not determined enough to foul them. Whereas other players seem to be more adept at these kind of tactical fouls. That
thing is, though, we were under Poch, weren't we? Earlier in Poch's reign, we were willing to do those fouls, and we just seem to now shy away from them a little bit.
So is it just the players being lazy then?
I don't know. Is it lazy, or just they just lost belief, or they feel that they can only play perfect football? It's something that Ben Davis picks up in episode 9 about, we shouldn't just try and play perfect football. We should try and win dirty as well.
Or again, is it just that they're too nice? I mean, Jose's pointed out you need to be more brutal, draw in more tactical fouls, as Wolves did in that game as well. Yeah. And you have to be nasty. And then, we flip from you have to be nasty to belly feeding Haribo to Eric Dyer while he's playing FIFA. And it's like, there you go, hun. Let me feed you some. But
that's out, I don't know. That's out of context because it's
social situation. I guess.
Yeah, it's a social situation, and it kind of feeds into this whole. We talk about that. He talks about being nasty. There's a kind of juxtaposition there because he talks about being nasty, Josie, but he also refers to the squad and the club as being a family. This player is like, he always talks about them as a family. So, this player isn't in the family, or, the family's like blah, blah. So he talks about them as family, and Dele has that conversation and he says, he sees them as brothers and family and whatever. So he's saying, well, I want them to be like family, then I want them to be nasty with each other as well, which is a difficult balance, I think, to achieve. If you're going to treat someone like your brother, and actually, I think I managed to do quite well when I was younger. So but if you treat someone as your family and be nasty to them at the same time, it's going to be quite difficult, I think, to achieve that balance. So.
Yeah.
So we my final point on the on episode 7 was Vaughan, which you mentioned already, Andy. Having really, I mean, watching that actually pissed me off because it was a bad decision at the time. It always felt like a bad decision at the time to play him. It played out that it was a bad decision. I think I can't remember if we went to redemption before actually, and then
we did.
Yeah, we did.
And we saw the
it was our last home game, wasn't it? Yeah.
And we were looking at the thinking like, why the fuck's Vaughan playing? Like, and that was that was the no disrespect to Vaughan and everything, but when they talked to him, which is obviously a reflective conversation after the event. But when they talked to him, he hadn't played for 14 months.
I know.
It's like, played for 14 months, and you fucking chuck him in to an FA Cup game, but in the talk and everything.
Yeah.
And they talk to the goalkeepers and they say like, Gazzaniga's fucking played well weeks before and in the previous round and all that, and then we just say fuck it, we're going to put Vaughan in. Why?
But even Vaughan was surprised. It was like.
He was.
You're going to just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I just come here and play football 2 hours a day and get paid 25 grand a week.
He was so surprised. He was still surprised while the game was going on.
Yeah.
I remember though when we got to the stadium a little bit earlier than we normally do, because normally it's like 5 minutes to go to before kickoff, and I remember watching the